Hi, welcome to Becky D's Gluten-Free Bake Shop here in Stratford, Ontario. And welcome to my kitchen. We're all excited. It's being renovated. We finally got our countertop in, which is really sweet, so we can get to work. Now, today we're going to try something a little different. And what we're going to do is not just make a recipe. I'm going to invite you on the journey with me to explore different recipes and see if they're hit and miss and how we can adapt them to meet our special needs. Having been diagnosed with celiac disease well over 10-15 years ago, and having all these extra allergies and such as dairy and nuts and eggs, I've had to be a little creative with my cooking and baking. And so this is a fun experiment where we're going to test different recipes and modify them so that they're gluten-free and vegan and nut-free, and see how they go. And I just invite you along the journey with me. So come on. All right. So today's recipe comes from mydarlingvegan.com, and it's their Chewy lemon crinkle cookie. I thought, hey, lemon crinkle cookie, that sounds yummy. Let's see how we do. Now theirs is already a vegan recipe, but it calls for certain ingredients that I can't eat, like almond flour, because I can't do nuts. So we're going to try this out and we're going to play, and come join with me. And we're going to do their Chewy lemon crinkle cookies. Now this recipe is not, it's not a gluten-free recipe normally, but it is a vegan recipe. However, they do use a lot of nuts. So we're going to swap out the gluten for the gluten-free, and we're going to swap out the nuts for a friendly alternative. So the first things first is, I've already pre-measured some of these ingredients, is we're going to start with creaming our fat and our sugar. So I've got here a half a cup of lard, which I'm just going to put in my mixing bowl. And then, sugar. We are going to use 3/4 cups of granulated sugar. There you go. I should say that the recipe is usually double this, but I'm just doing half the recipe for today because we don't need tons of cookies today. All right, so I'm going to start by mixing my sugar with my lard. This makes a nice and creamy base. Once it's nice and creamed together, we're going to add the rest of our wet ingredients. So what I have here is some applesauce, and it's a 1/4 cup. Actually, I have a spatula here, which I'm going to use. So I'm just going to put in a 1/4 cup of applesauce into my mixing bowl. There we go. And then it calls for some lemon zest. Now you don't have to use lemon zest, that's totally optional, but I like lemon zest. It adds a little extra to the flavor. So we're just gonna use our grater here. Maybe you have an actual zester. I just like my grater. And just get some zest here. I'm not gonna use a whole lemon because I'll show you why in a minute, but I'm just gonna add in a little bit of, there we go, lemon zest just to perk things up. We also need lemon juice. So it calls for 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. So I have my little convenient little wet measuring cup here, my citrus juicer, and I'm just gonna press and get 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. Should have cut it smaller. All right, there we go. So I'm just gonna add my lemon juice. Now I like adding a little essential oil, so I'm gonna add some doTERRA lemon. Now if you add this, add essential oil. Remember, not all essential oils can you eat and consume. If you're gonna get it, it's good to have an oil that is certified pure and edible. So I'm just gonna add 2 drops of lemon there. It just gives it that extra little bit of lemon. All right, we also want to add the vanilla. So we need a 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla. I have some pure vanilla here, and I just need a 1/2 teaspoon. There we go. So now we're just gonna blend all these wet ingredients together. once it's good and creamy, we're ready to add our dry ingredients. So what this recipe calls for is actually almond flour. We're not going to use almond flour today. Instead, my favorite gluten-free go-to is Bob's Red Mill 1-to-1 baking flour, and this calls for 1.5 cups of flour. So let's do that. Okay, we've added our flour. Next is a 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. So I'm just gonna do that right now. There we go. All right, and salt. I've got that all measured out here. I'm just gonna dump it in. It's 1/4 teaspoon or however much you want for flavor. All right, let's blend it all up. I forgot to mention earlier that instead of, it calls for vegan butter. You can use vegan butter. I don't have any vegan butter, but I do have Crisco's vegetable lard, so that's what I used instead. It's a good fat replacement. All right, so now we're done mixing our dough. I'm just gonna scrape off my paddle a little bit. Oops, as you can see, makes a nice dough here. The next step, I think it should be taste the dough. Normally, if you're selling cookies, don't do this, but I'm gonna do it today because it's just me and my husband enjoying them. And I miss my mouth. Let's that part. The nice thing with vegan dough is you can taste them, and they taste quite nice actually. It's a nice lemony flavor, so that's good. All right, I use this little scooper. Of course, if you don't have a scooper, you can make a nice ball. I think about a 1-inch ball. So what I'm gonna do is just scoop, and then I've got here 1/2 cup of powdered sugar or icing sugar, and you just kind of want to roll it in there and place your cookies on here. You want to place them about 2 inches apart from each other. Okay, we've got all the cookies rolled out, quite a number here. So I'm going to put them in the oven. I have the oven already preheated at 350, and they're going to bake for 10 minutes until lightly brown, or until things start cracking, and then we'll see how they turn out. All right, so the instructions say to wait 10 minutes before transferring them onto the cooling rack. I'm not fully there. I wait about 5 just to let them solidify. You just don't want your cookies to crumble. I think the cooling rack is better because then they can have air circulation. I mean, I don't know, unless they wanted them to continue cooking on the sheet, and that would be the reason why you don't. So, what we have here is some yummy looking cookies, and in a few minutes we will taste test them and see, are they a win, a hit, or a miss? All right, let's see. Not bad. It's nice, light cookie, actually. I quite enjoy this. Have a good night, or day, or whatever time it is for you. Bye.